The storm lashed against the translucent dome of the emergency shelter, creating a constant white noise that had become the soundtrack to Lara Velour's life over the past 3 months. Rain slid down the curved surfaces in rivulets, distorting the view of the gas giant that dominated the sky of this miserable moon. Inside, the makeshift medical and research outpost hummed with activity as the Alliance-Xylarian joint program continued its grim task of recovering what they could from the Chimera 7 disaster. Lara's slender blue fingers moved efficiently across her holopad, scrolling through biometric data with practiced precision. The Xylarian scientist's face remained impassive as she registered yet another zero life sign, reading from the latest debris scan. 3 months of searching, and still no survivors from the catastrophic energy surge that had eliminated all personnel aboard the station. "Nothing again?" Dr. Maroro asked, his elderly human frame casting a long shadow across the laboratory floor. The Alliance scientist's voice carried the weight of too many similar disappointments. "Negative life signs," Lara confirmed, her tone clinical and detached as befitted a chief bioengineer of her species. "Wreckage composition consistent with the Eastern Habitation Sector. No recoverable biological material." Commander Richard Hayes entered the lab, his Alliance uniform impeccably pressed, despite the humidity that permeated the shelter. The military officer had arrived only yesterday to oversee the salvage operation, but already his presence had changed the atmosphere of the outpost. The personnel straightened when he entered a room. Conversations became more guarded. "Dr. Velour," Hayes addressed her with the faintest hint of a smile. "I trust your team is making progress?" "We are proceeding according to protocol," Lara responded, not looking up from her data. "Though I must reiterate that the likelihood of finding survivors at this point is statistically negligible." Hayes nodded. "Nevertheless, the Alliance values thoroughness. We must account for every soul lost on Chimera 7. Something in his tone made Lara glance up sharply, but Hayes had already turned away to inspect a nearby console. She returned to her work, pushing the moment from her mind as she often did with emotional reactions. Her people valued precision and detachment. Personal feelings had no place in scientific recovery operations. A sudden movement beyond the dome caught her eye. Lara blinked, uncertain if the rain had played tricks with her vision. Then she saw it again, a dark, humanoid figure staggering through the downpour toward the shelter. "Security check, eastern perimeter," she ordered into her comm unit. "Possible contact approaching the dome." "Sensors show no life signs in that sector," came the immediate response. Lara frowned. "Visual confirmation of humanoid figure moving toward airlock 3. Dispatch security team immediately." The figure reached the airlock before security could respond. Through the transparent section of the outer door, Lara could now make out details. A human male wearing battered Alliance Lion's armor, helmet missing, short blonde hair, matted by rain against his skull. The man's face lifted toward the interior camera, and Lara felt her professional composure crack. Captain Alex Ryder. The same Captain Ryder, whose biometrics she had personally watched flatline when Chimera 7's life support systems went dark. The same man whose death she had privately mourned while maintaining her outward scientific detachment. The airlock cycle began, security personnel rushing to position. Lara moved toward the entry chamber, as if pulled by an invisible force. The inner door slid open, and Alex stumbled forward, water streaming from his armor. His eyes found Lara's immediately, recognition and relief washing over his exhausted features. Lara raised her holopad with trembling hands, initiating an automatic bioscan. The readings that appeared made her gasp aloud, breaking her carefully maintained Xylarian reserve. "Impossible," she whispered. "You should be dead." Alex managed a weak smile before his legs gave out. Lara lunged forward, catching him before he hit the floor, her strength surprising for her slender frame. "Medics!" she shouted, cradling the human's rain-soaked form. "Priority 1 to entry chamber!" As medical personnel rushed in, Lara stared at the readings on her pad. Heart function, brain activity, cellular metrics, all defied any known biology, human or otherwise. Nothing about Alex Rider should be functioning. Yet here he was, breathing in her arms. The puzzle that would upend everything had just begun. The medical bay buzzed with activity as Lara and Dr. Marraro conducted detailed scans of their impossible patient. Alex lay unconscious on the examination table, monitoring equipment surrounding him like technological sentinels. Each new reading deepened the mystery. Mitochondrial density increased by over 400%, Lara noted, her voice betraying a hint of excitement despite her cultural conditioning. Neural activity exceeds baseline human parameters, yet recognition patterns remain intact. Marraro leaned closer to examine the faint, shifting patterns visible beneath Alex's skin, subtle luminescence that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. "I've never seen anything like this. It's as if his entire cellular structure has been rebuilt." "But how did he survive?" Lara asked, more to herself than to her colleague. "I watched his biometrics flatline when Chimera 7 went dark. There was no question of survival." Before Marraro could respond, the lab door slid open to admit Commander Hayes, flanked by 2 security officers. His expression was neutral, but his posture radiated tension. "I understand Captain Ryder has returned to us," Hayes said, approaching the examination table. "Quite miraculous." "Medically impossible is more accurate," Lara corrected. "His biology has been fundamentally altered." Hayes nodded slowly. "All the more reason he should be transferred immediately to a secure Alliance facility for proper debriefing and examination." "Transfer is not advisable," Lara stated firmly. "Captain Ryder remains in critical condition. Moving him would pose significant risks." "Alliance protocol is clear, Dr. Velour," Hayes countered. "Any military personnel found after being declared MIA must undergo immediate quarantine and debriefing." Lara drew herself up to her full height, which still left her looking up at the human commander. "Medical authority in this joint operation rests with me. Commander, Captain Ryder will remain under observation for at least 24 hours before any transfer is considered." Hayes's jaw tightened, but he merely nodded. 24 hours, then. I'll have a shuttle prepared for his transfer at that time." He turned and left, his security detail following like shadows. "That man arrived too quickly after Alex's return," Marraro murmured once the door closed. "Almost as if he was expecting him." Lara glanced sharply at the elderly scientist. "You suspect something?" Marraro's weathered face revealed nothing. "Just an old man's paranoia, perhaps." A soft groan from the examination table interrupted their exchange. Alex's eyes fluttered open, disorientation giving way to recognition as he focused on Lara. "You're safe," she assured him, professional instinct taking over. "You're at the emergency shelter on Thetis Moon." Alex's lips moved, forming words with effort. "They're coming," he whispered hoarsely. "What we found wasn't what we thought." "Who's coming?" Lara asked urgently, leaning closer. "What did you find?" Instead of answering, Alex's eyes closed as he slipped back into unconsciousness. Lara straightened, troubled by his cryptic warning and the inexplicable changes to his physiology. "I need to access the Chimera 7 logs," she decided. "Something happened up there. Something beyond a simple energy surge." "Those files are classified now," Marraro warned. Hayes would notice any official query. Lara's expression hardened with determination. "Then my query won't be official." Long after the shelter's lighting had dimmed for night cycle, Lara made her way to the central data hub. The rain continued its relentless assault on the dome, masking the soft pad of her footsteps. The few technicians on night duty nodded respectfully as she passed. Her position as chief bioengineer gave her access to most systems without question. In the privacy of a secondary terminal alcove, Lara entered her credentials, then hesitated. Direct access to Chimera 7 logs would trigger security protocols. Instead, she input a string of characters Alex had whispered during a moment of semi-consciousness. Echo 79. The screen flickered, then displayed a command authorization. Captain Alex Ryder, Alliance Military Liaison to Chimera 7. Access granted. Lara worked quickly, navigating through encrypted files, scanning for anything unusual in the days before the disaster. A particular entry from the station's security logs caught her attention. A visit from Commander Richard Hayes 3 days before the energy surge. The commander had accessed a restricted laboratory with an unidentified alien visitor. The grainy security footage showed Hayes gesturing animatedly as he spoke to his companion. Evolutionary leap. Hayes's voice came through the poor audio. Your people promised a breakthrough. The footage ended abruptly, but Lara had seen enough. Hayes had been involved with something on Chimera 7 before its destruction, something he had kept hidden from the recovery teams. A message appeared on her personal communicator. Storage Bay 3. Use maintenance corridors. M. Lara erased all evidence of her search and slipped out of the data hub. The maintenance corridors were narrow and dimly lit, designed for utility robots rather than organic beings. She made her way carefully, mind racing with questions about Hayes's mysterious meeting and Alex's transformation. Dr. Marraro waited in the shadows of Storage Bay 3, his expression grave. You found something, he stated, rather than asked. Hayes visited Chimera 7 before the incident, Lara confirmed. He met with an unknown alien. They discussed some kind of breakthrough. Marraro nodded slowly. I was afraid of this. Listen carefully. Lara. Before I joined this program, I worked in Alliance intelligence. There were rumors, stories of an ancient species called the Architects, beings who manipulate the evolutionary paths of other species. You believe these architects were involved with Chimera 7? The energy anomaly was no accident, Marraro said, his voice dropping to a whisper. It was engineered, a test of sorts. Alex was exposed to something that rebuilt him from within. A chime from Lara's communicator interrupted them. Alert notifications flooded the screen. Hayes had ordered Alex to be prepped for immediate transfer, countermanding her medical authority. We need to move now, Marraro urged. Hayes wants Alex because of what he's become. I've prepared a diversion, but you'll need to override the environmental controls to create a corridor to the shuttle bay. He pressed an access card into her hand. This will give you command access. Trigger the atmospheric contamination protocol for the shuttle. It will ground it for 30 minutes. That should give you enough time. Time for what? Lara asked, though she already knew the answer. To get Alex away from here, Marraro replied. There's a Xylarian research vessel docked at the far end of the compound. Take it to the Helios Cluster outpost. There's evidence there. Proof of an even greater threat. The harvesters are coming. Lara and Alex may be the key to stopping them. Before she could question him further, an alarm blared through the compound. Marraro smiled grimly. That's my distress beacon. It should draw security to the eastern perimeter. Go now. Lara hesitated only a moment before racing back through the maintenance corridor toward the medical bay. When she arrived, she found the room empty. Alex had already been moved. Checking her pad, she located his biosignature moving toward the shuttle bay, surrounded by security personnel. She took a parallel route, using Marraro's access card to override locked sections. As she approached the junction that would lead to the shuttle bay, a hand reached out from a darkened alcove, pulling her into the shadows. Lara prepared to defend herself, then froze as she recognized Alex, fully conscious and moving with unexpected grace. "Hayes thinks I'm still on the shuttle," he whispered, releasing her arm. I slipped away during the transfer. "I'm not entirely human anymore. Lara, they want me for the architect's research." "Dr. Mororo told me about the architects," Lara said. "He said there's evidence at the Helios outpost." Alex nodded. "The architects have been experimenting for centuries, selecting humans to become vanguards, living weapons. Hayes is their willing collaborator. They're preparing for the harvesters. But their methods—" He shook his head. "I'm the first successful prototype, but not in the way they intended." "We need to reach the Xylarian vessel," Lara decided. "Can you move?" "Better than before," Alex replied with a grim smile. "Whatever they did to me, it came with some advantages." Together, they moved through the compound, avoiding patrols. Alex's enhanced senses allowed him to detect approaching personnel before they appeared, guiding them safely through the labyrinthine structure. The rain had intensified, reducing visibility on the external pathways. They used this to their advantage, darting between buildings in the downpour. In a narrow maintenance alcove, they paused to catch their breath. Water streamed from Alex's hair and clothes, reminding Lara of his arrival hours earlier. In the dim emergency lighting, the bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin were more visible, casting a soft, ethereal glow. "How did you survive?" Lara asked softly. "I watched your biometrics flatline." Alex's expression grew distant. "I was somewhere else after Chimera 7 collapsed. Somewhere dark. But I held on to something." His eyes met hers. "Your face, your voice, it kept me anchored when everything else disappeared." The admission struck Lara deeply, challenging her species' taboo against interspecies attachment. For 3 months, she had suppressed her grief over his death, buried it beneath Xylarian professionalism. Now, facing him in this moment of crisis, those emotional barriers seemed suddenly insignificant. "That's highly illogical, Captain," she whispered, her voice betraying emotion she had long denied. "Humanity rarely makes logical choices," Alex replied with a small smile. "That's what the architects never understood." In the confined space of the alcove, with rain drumming on the roof above them, Lara allowed herself to cross a line her culture forbade. She leaned forward, pressing her lips to his in a human gesture that felt strangely natural. Alex responded immediately, one hand cupping her face with surprising gentleness. When they separated, the bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin pulsed more intensely. "We should go," he said softly, "before they realize I'm not on the shuttle." They continued toward the docking bay, where the Xylarian research vessel waited. As they approached, 2 Xylarian officers blocked their path, hands moving to their sidearms. "Chief Bioengineer Velour," one began formally. "Commander Hayes has issued—" Alex moved within human speed, covering the distance between them in the blink of an eye. Before either officer could draw their weapons, both were unconscious on the ground. Lara stared, both awed and unsettled by the display. "They're alive," Alex assured her. "Just unconscious." At the vessel's access panel, Lara entered her chief bioengineer credentials, overriding the security protocols. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, revealing the sleek interior of the Xylarian deep space research craft. "Can you pilot this?" Alex asked, as they hurried inside. "It's a Xylarian vessel," Lara replied with the faintest hint of pride. "Of course I can." The airlock sealed behind them as Lara activated the ship's systems. Through the viewports, they could see security teams converging on the docking bay. Hayes at the forefront. The commander's face contorted with fury as he recognized them through the ship's transparent canopy. "Disengaging docking clamps," Lara announced, her fingers dancing across the control interface. "Preparing for atmospheric exit." The vessel hummed to life, its advanced engines charging. Hayes shouted orders. Security personnel raising weapons. But they were too late. The ship lifted smoothly from its berth, accelerating rapidly toward the storm-filled sky. "Setting course for the Helios cluster," Lara said, as they broke through the cloud cover. The gas giant, now visible in all its majesty. "Preparing for hyperspace jump." Alex settled into the co-pilot's seat, wincing slightly. "How long to reach Helios?" "Approximately 6 hours," Lara replied, glancing at him with concern. "You should rest in the medical bay. Your condition is changing," Alex finished for her. "I can feel it, like my cells are still reorganizing." The stars elongated around them as the vessel entered hyperspace, leaving Thetis Moon and Hayes far behind. For the moment, they had escaped, but both knew this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. In the medical bay of the Xylarian vessel, Alex lay on a diagnostic platform as Lara monitored his condition. The bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin had intensified during the hyperspace journey, pulsing in complex sequences that defied analysis. "Your neural pathways are rewriting themselves," Lara observed, studying the holographic representation floating above him. "It's as if your body is optimizing itself at the quantum level." Alex grimaced as another wave of transformation surged through him. "The architects designed their vanguards to be controlled, puppets with enhanced abilities. But something went wrong with me. The process integrated naturally, instead of overwriting." "That would explain why Hayes was so eager to secure you," Lara mused. "A successful integration rather than a forced conversion would be invaluable to their research." "And a threat to their control," Alex added. As the pain subsided, he sat up slowly. "When I was trapped in that darkness after Chimera 7, I could sense them searching for me. The architects. They were furious that I had slipped their grasp." Lara hesitated, then placed her hand over his. The bioluminescent patterns brightened at her touch. "Professional boundaries seem rather insignificant now," she said softly. "We face something that threatens both our species." Alex intertwined his fingers with hers. "When I was dead, I held onto your image. I knew I had to warn you. And I maintained my scientific detachment while grieving in silence," Lara admitted. "Neither approach served us well." Their lips met again, no longer tentative but passionate, acknowledging feelings that had remained unspoken during their time on Chimera 7. In the sterile environment of the medical bay, surrounded by the cold light of diagnostic equipment, they found a moment of connection that transcended their biological differences. 6 hours later, the vessel emerged from hyperspace near the Helios cluster. Lara returned to the bridge, Alex following close behind. What they saw through the viewports caused them both to freeze in horror. A vast debris field filled the space before them, the remnants of dozens of ships, all Xylarian research vessels identical to their own. The destruction was systematic and thorough, not the chaotic aftermath of a traditional battle. "Scan for life signs," Lara ordered, her voice tight with dread. The ship's systems complied. "No life signs detected. Analysis indicates destruction occurred approximately 48 hours ago." "The harvesters," Alex said grimly. "This is their signature. They don't battle fleets. They slaughter them. No chance to respond. No survivors left to warn others." "You've seen this before?" Alex nodded slowly. "Not personally, but the knowledge is in me now. Part of what the transformation gave me access to. The harvesters are biomechanical constructs that strip worlds of life. The architects fear them above all else." Lara guided their vessel carefully through the debris field, sensors alert for any sign of the beings responsible for such destruction. "The Helios outpost. Could they have reached it already?" "We have to assume so," Alex replied. "But we still need to get there. The outpost contains evidence, logs, recordings, that could convince both our governments of the threat we face. They approached the Helios outpost with extreme caution. The station hung in space like a wounded animal, sections torn open to the vacuum, emergency lighting blinking sporadically through intact viewports. To Lara's surprise, the sensors detected minimal life support functioning in a central hub. "Someone's alive in there," she whispered. "Or something wants us to think they are," Alex cautioned. "We need to dock at an emergency airlock. Avoid the main bays." Lara piloted the vessel to a secondary airlock on the station's least damaged section. As they prepared to board, Alex's expression grew distant, his bioluminescent patterns shifting rapidly. "They're here," he said quietly. "Not harvesters. Vanguards. Hayes's living weapons. How many?" "At least 6. They've been altered like me. But wrong. Forced conversion. They won't be fully human anymore." Lara retrieved a Xylarian energy pistol from the ship's security locker. "Then we'll have to be careful." The airlock cycled, admitting them to the damaged station. Emergency lighting cast long shadows down the corridors, and the air tasted stale. They moved quietly, Alex leading with his enhanced senses, alert for danger. "Life signs ahead," he whispered. "The Central Command Center. 2 beings. 1 Xylarian." They approached cautiously, passing signs of violent struggle, scorched walls, torn paneling, dark stains on the floor. The command center doors were sealed, but a small observation window allowed them to peer inside. A Xylarian scientist worked frantically at a console, while another figure stood guard, weapon ready. Lara tapped a recognition code on the door. After a moment's hesitation, it slid open, just enough to admit them, before sealing again. "Chief Bioengineer Velour," the Xylarian scientist exclaimed, with visible relief. "We thought all rescue attempts had been destroyed." "Dr. Narus," Lara acknowledged. "What happened here?" "They came without warning," Narus explained, gestures betraying his agitation. "First the harvesters. They destroyed our research fleet. Then these humans. But wrong somehow. Their skin has jagged patterns. Their eyes." He shuddered. "Vanguards," Alex confirmed. "Corrupted by the architects." Narus stared at Alex, noticing the smooth, bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin. "You're like them, but different. Natural integration versus forced conversion," Lara explained briefly. "Dr. Narus, Alex believes there's evidence here, data about the harvesters and the architects' conspiracy." "Yes," Narus pointed to a laboratory visible through an interior window. 3 devices, pyramid-shaped, left by the harvesters but engineered by the architects. They jam all outbound communications. Alex moved to the window, studying the devices. "I can interface with them," he said softly. "My reconstruction allows me to understand their quantum language." "The Vanguards will sense any attempt to access the devices," Narus warned. "They've been hunting us throughout the station," as if summoned by his words. An alarm blared through the command center. Security monitors showed multiple humanoid figures converging on their position, moving with unnatural speed. Their skin bore jagged, chaotic patterns, crude imitations of Alex's smooth bioluminescence. "They've found us," the guard announced grimly, readying his weapon. "We need to reach those devices," Alex insisted. "If I can override them, I can broadcast evidence across all frequencies, expose Hayes's betrayal and the architect conspiracy." Lara made a swift decision. "Dr. Narus, how many security personnel remain on the station?" "Commander TK leads a team of 5, including Trick here," Narus replied, indicating the guard. "They've been holding the Vanguards at bay, but we're outmatched." "Tell TK to create a diversion," Lara ordered. "We need to reach that laboratory." Trick nodded grimly and activated his comm unit. Commander, we need cover for Central Lab access. Priority 1. A gruff voice responded immediately. Acknowledged. Diversion in 3 minutes. Make it count. Alex turned to Lara. Once I interface with those devices, I don't know what will happen. The energy drain could be significant. Lara understood his meaning. Then, we'd better not waste time. 3 minutes later, explosions rocked a distant section of the station. Alarms blared anew, and the security monitors showed the vanguards changing direction, moving toward the disturbance. Now, Trick ordered, opening the command center door. They moved swiftly through the corridors toward the laboratory, Trick taking point with his weapon ready. They were halfway there when the first vanguard appeared, rounding a corner with inhuman speed. Its face was recognizably human, but the skin bore chaotic, jagged luminescent patterns, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. Trick fired without hesitation, but the vanguard dodged with blinding speed. Alex moved to intercept, matching the creature's velocity. The two collided in a blur of motion, grappling in the narrow corridor. For a moment, they seemed evenly matched. Then Alex gained the upper hand, his natural integration giving him an edge over the forced conversion. "Go!" he shouted to Lara. "Get to the lab!" Lara and Naruse continued forward, while Trick provided covering fire. More vanguards appeared, engaging the station's security team in fierce combat. The sounds of energy weapons and inhuman screams filled the corridors. They reached the laboratory, sealing the door behind them. The three pyramid-shaped devices dominated the center of the room, pulsing with alien symbols that shifted and changed as they watched. "Can you interface with them?" Lara asked anxiously. Alex approached the nearest device cautiously. "I think so. But once I start, it will alert all vanguards to our location. Then we'll hold them off," Lara declared, positioning herself by the door with her energy pistol ready. Alex placed his hands on the first device. The bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin aligned with the symbols on the pyramid, creating a harmonic resonance. His eyes closed in concentration as his consciousness merged with the alien technology. Outside, the sounds of battle grew closer. Lara could hear Commander TK shouting orders, the security team fighting a desperate holding action against the vanguards. The laboratory door shuddered as something heavy struck it from the other side. "First device overridden," Alex announced, his voice strained. "Broadcasting evidence of Hayes's meetings with the architects." He moved to the second pyramid, repeating the process. The symbols flashed more rapidly, as if resisting his intrusion. Beyond the door, an inhuman screech signaled the fall of another security team member. "Second device online," Alex gasped. "Transmitting data on Vanguard creation and Harvester threat." The laboratory door began to glow red as vanguards attempted to burn through. Lara braced herself, weapon aimed at the weakening barrier. Alex reached the third and final device, placing his hands on its surface. This time, the reaction was immediate and violent. Energy surged from the pyramid into his body, making his bioluminescent patterns flare blindingly bright. He cried out in pain, but maintained contact. The door finally gave way, a vanguard bursting into the laboratory with inhuman speed. Lara fired, the energy bolt striking it squarely in the chest. The creature staggered but continued forward. She fired again and again, backing toward Alex as more vanguards appeared in the doorway. Suddenly, all the vanguards convulsed simultaneously, the jagged patterns on their skin flaring erratically. They collapsed to the floor, twitching helplessly as their forced conversions broke down. "Hayes's control signal," Alex explained through gritted teeth, still connected to the final device. "I've overridden it, broadcasting on all frequencies to Alliance Command and Xylarian Central." The pyramid beneath his hands pulsed one final time, then went dark. Alex collapsed to the floor, the bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin flickering weakly. "Alex!" Lara cried, rushing to his side. His pulse was faint, his breathing shallow. "I got through," he whispered. "They'll know everything now." Dr. Narus hurried to help. "We need to get him to the medbay immediately." Together, they carried Alex through corridors, now littered with the bodies of vanguards and security personnel alike. Commander TK met them halfway, his uniform scorched and torn. "Trick?" Lara asked. TK shook his head grimly. "Gave his life buying time for you. Whatever your friend did, it worked. Those things just collapsed." In the station's medbay, Lara and Narus worked frantically to stabilize Alex's condition. The energy drain from interfacing with the architect devices had nearly killed him. Slowly, the bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin began to stabilize, settling into a constant, gentle glow. "He's stabilizing," Narus announced with relief. "His hybrid physiology is adapting, finding a new equilibrium." Through the station's viewports, Lara could see ships approaching, Alliance cruisers and Xylarian starfighters converging on the Helios outpost as the broadcast evidence spread across the galaxy. "They received the transmission," TK confirmed, entering the medbay. "Both governments are scrambling to respond. Reports are coming in that Commander Hayes was arrested mid-transmission by Alliance security." "And the Architect Enforcers?" Lara asked. "Their control signals failed when your friend overrode the devices. Without Hayes to direct them, they're withdrawing." Alex stirred on the medical platform, his eyes opening slowly. "Lara." She took his hand, feeling the warmth of his bioluminescence against her blue skin. "We did it," she assured him softly. "They know everything now." 6 weeks later, Lara stood in the Grand Diplomatic Chamber aboard the Xylarian flagship Eternal Harmony, presenting compiled evidence to representatives from both the Alliance and the Xylarian Confederation. The room's circular design emphasized unity, with holographic displays illuminating the center of the table. "The data is conclusive," she explained, gesturing to the displays. "The architects have manipulated our conflicts for centuries, accelerating our species' evolution through artificial means. The vanguards were corrupted humans, used as pawns in their experiments." Alex stood beside her, dressed in a new hybrid species uniform that acknowledged his unique status. The bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin had stabilized into elegant, flowing designs that complemented his human features rather than overwhelming them. "Most critically," Lara continued, "the harvesters are real and active. They've already destroyed an entire Xylarian research fleet and damaged the Helios outpost. Their biomechanical technology far exceeds our current capabilities." "And what do you propose we do about these threats, Chief Bioengineer Velour?" asked the Alliance representative, skepticism evident in her tone. Alex stepped forward. "With your permission," he said, activating a small device on the table. A holographic representation of architect code appeared above it, shifting and changing in complex patterns. "This is the control signal the architects use to direct their vanguards," he explained. "I've been able to stabilize my own code integration to prevent outside control, while maintaining the enhanced capabilities. This gives us a unique advantage. I can interface with and potentially disable architect technology." He demonstrated by manipulating the holographic code with a gesture, causing it to reorganize into a harmonious pattern. "With proper research and cooperation between our species, we can develop countermeasures against both the architects and the harvesters." The chamber fell silent as the representatives considered the evidence before them. Finally, the Xylarian High Counselor spoke. "The Confederation acknowledges the threat and recognizes the necessity of joint action. We propose the establishment of a combined task force, with Chief Bioengineer Velour and Captain Ryder as primary liaisons." The Alliance representative nodded slowly. "The Alliance concurs. Given the extraordinary circumstances, we must set aside traditional boundaries. as the session adjourned with formal agreements to establish the Joint Defense Initiative. Lara and Alex slipped away to an observation deck overlooking the combined fleet, preparing to depart. Xylarian and Alliance vessels positioned side by side, crews working together with newfound urgency. We broke taboos, defied conspiracies, and now stand at the forefront of a war few still believe in. Lara observed quietly. Alex smiled, taking her hand. His bioluminescent patterns synchronized with her touch, creating a harmonious glow between them. "Humans adapt to impossible odds," he replied. "And with you by my side, we'll redefine what's possible." Their silhouettes blended against the stars, visible through the viewport. One human, one Xylarian, united by circumstances neither could have imagined. Beyond the fleet, the vast expanse of space held both promise and peril. Architects to be hunted, harvesters to be confronted. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time since Chimera 7's destruction, it was illuminated by hope. Cosmic threats remained, vast and terrifying in their implications. But in this moment, watching their united fleets prepare for departure, Lara and Alex found strength in their unlikely bond, a connection that transcended biology and cultural taboos to forge something new and unexpectedly powerful. Together, they turned to face the stars and whatever awaited them among them.